Oh, well, a very, very good evening to you and welcome to Ideal World. My name is Genevieve and it's so lovely to have your company on this hour. It's a very special hour because it is dedicated to something we seem to put off, that we don't plan for. And if I said to you right now that the things you've worked for in your life, the home you have, the possessions you have, if you don't look after them or you don't make arrangements for what happens to them, it's not what you think, because they don't always go where you want them to go. See, we're talking about wills and planning, and it's such a positive thing to do. You see, we plan for birthdays and we'll plan for holidays and we'll write our lists and our to-do lists. But one of the things that's always right at the bottom of that to-do list is to make sure that we have our wills in place. And it is a gift to your loved ones. It makes their life easier at a time when it is so difficult. So planning a will and lasting power of attorney, which we're going to talk about in the show, is probably one of the single most important things you can do for you, for what belongs to you, and for your loved ones. And if you think it's difficult and it's time consuming and you need to know everything, you absolutely don't. This is why we're going to be talking to the planning crowd in this hour. It is all about the planning crowd making it easy for you so you can do something so positive and so proactive. Let me introduce you to the planning crowd. We've got Helen Hill with us. It's great to have your company.
Thanks,
Helen, of
Jen.
course, our Legal Services Director here. It's great to see you again. Ian Peace, Director. Lovely to have your company, Ian.
Thanks, Jen.
Now, we will talk a lot more, of course, about wills, and we'll talk about lasting power of attorneys and how important they are. But first, Ian, can you tell me a little bit more about the planning crowd and what it is you do?
Yeah, of course, the planning crowd is a legal services firm, essentially, but we specialise in estate planning, as you mentioned there, in helping people protect their assets and make sure that they go to where they want them to go. But we've got a range of services from court of protection work, which ties in with lasting powers of attorney. We offer a bereavement service at the point of need as well, right through to things like conveyancing. So it's a full range of legal services. You wouldn't come to me and Helen for a divorce or for an accident claim or something like that, but hopefully you would speak to us about estate planning, because that's what we specialise in.
Absolutely. Now just take a look at the services offered by the planning crowd. So wills, lasting power of attorneys. And don't worry if you don't know what these mean, that we're going to talk about through the hour today and how important they are. Trusts, probate, COP, trust administration, conveyancing, bereavement, HMLR, first registration, deed of variation, trustee support and advance directive. And if you're sitting at home thinking, do I have to know what everything is? Of course you don't. We've got Helen Hill with us and Ian Peace to tell us everything. Helen, why would our viewers, I'm sure there's lots of options out there, why would our viewers choose the planning crowd to write our wills?
It's what we do every single day. As Ian said, we specialise in a whole range of services for our clients, so that we deal with them from the very first moment we speak to them, and when we first take their instructions and draft their documentation for them. We offer a completely personal service. Everyone's situation is different. Everyone will have different questions, especially during the show, but we deal with people as an individual and take their circumstances and look after them through the whole process. We really hold their hand. We don't just draft documentation. We're there when that document is needed as well. So we're accountable for what we do.
With years of experience, and a congratulations in order as well, Tax Lawyer of the Year.
Thank
you.
Also,
so you have all of that experience behind you, giving you that helping hand as well. Now let's take a look at the offers today, and they are pretty incredible, I have to say. Let's take a look first of all at wills. Now, a family and estate will, as you can see, the original there of course is £139 going down to £59. £14.75 is your first interest-free flexible payment, and you're saving £80 on that today as well. Now you've got a P&A, lasting power of attorney, that's £325 becomes £179 with Ideal World's price, £44.75 on your 4 payments on, and saving £146. And a will P&A LPA from £464 to £199. £49.75 if you want to spread the cost. Remember, that is just over 4 months, and then of course it's done. That's all you have to do is the 4 months. save £265. Now, the number on the bottom of your screen is slightly different from the usual. We're 0333 600 2600, where you can call the client care team right now. We will be speaking to them later on as well if they're not too busy. It's always very busy there. Also, you can text callback if you want to, and all you have to do is text the word will to 66777. That's all you have to do, and someone from the planning crowd will call you back and have a chat with you as well. So, Helen, can you just expand on what Ian is saying about the services that you offer?
Yeah, it's not just producing wills and lasting powers of attorney. We offer a complete range of services. So we also deal with estate administration. And I think that really helps us to understand what clients need as well. Because we see cases where people have planned and they've written wills and they've documented their wishes. And yes, it's a difficult time when family lose somebody. Yeah. But knowing that that person has planned and put those documents in place, it makes that process just a little bit easier for them.
Absolutely.
We see the other side of the coin where people come to us because their family haven't planned and they're looking for help to deal with the administration, and just not knowing what that person wanted, or even not knowing that actually they did want something and they didn't document it, so that isn't going to happen, is really quite distressing for them. So what we really want to do today during the show is to help people understand how important it is to plan, how inexpensive it can be as well. But also the consequences of not doing anything. And I think that's the thing people don't understand. If you don't plan, there are consequences, and it's not always the things that you want to happen.
Absolutely.
So we want to get that information out there.
And I have personal experience, and I'll tell you about that later on as well, and exactly what Helen is saying. Don't underestimate the importance of planning. Ian, can you tell us a little bit more about your customer client team in Lincoln?
Of course, yeah, the client care team, I think Helen's explained already, this is what we do every single day. And that's what the client care team do every single day. So they're more than familiar with every scenario, and they're there basically to deal with you as an individual. So every client it's a bespoke document that we create because everyone's situation is different. And the client care team are fully trained, fully qualified, and they're there to hold our client's hand through the whole process. And some people know instantly what they want to achieve, and we'll be able to help them do that. And others, it'll take a period of time, they'll have questions, and we'll have to give some advice. But we'll only produce those documents for our clients once they're 100% with the instructions they've given us and they're happy with the advice that we've given them. When they're 100% happy, then they get the documents, and then they've done this really, really brilliant thing for the family.
Absolutely, it's so, so true,
Yeah.
and we will talk further about that as well. Helen, can you tell me who needs a will, and what would they need to do first?
Okay, so there is an argument that everybody needs a will. Everyone should at least consider. Think about the consequences of not doing it and see if you like your family to be in that position, and then think about how much better it could be if you do document your wishes and so that your family understand what's going to happen. As to what you do first, just decide to do something.
Yes.
Don't put it off. Speak to us, take advantage of the offers that we've put together today, pick up the phone. You don't need to know everything right now. As Ian said, some people know exactly what they want to happen, and will be able to do it straight away. Other people will not even know what they can do within a will. So the client care team will talk them through all the options. They'll ask all the relevant questions, they'll give you time to think about it, and then when you're happy you can give your instructions and we can produce your documents. Today you don't need to know anything, you just need to make the decision to do something about it.
And I suppose a lot of people, I was just talking at the start of the show saying we all have a to-do list, and there's always that thing you don't mark at the end because you think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I forgot that bit, I had other things to do, or tomorrow. Ian, in your opinion, why do you think people just don't get around to making a will?
I think there's more exciting and more interesting things to do with your money is what people think.
Yeah.
Being a bit of a geek that I am and working in this profession that I do, I actually find it fascinating, and funnily enough, when our clients do make that decision, they find it really interesting as well because they often learn something. And I think the interesting thing, when they decide to take that step and they decide to make that purchase, no one ever regrets doing it. At the end of it, they're always glad that they got it out of the way. I actually saw one of the Ideal World viewers just this week, just a couple of days ago. Yeah, he's a retired gentleman. He was absolutely lovely. And he was honest with me, saying he's been retired for almost 20 years. and he still wasn't going to get around to doing it.
Oh, you see.
Then he saw the show and thought,
Yeah.
do you know what, we'll do it. And he
Yeah.
admitted that it just gave him that push that he needed, you know, and he's done it now. And that's brilliant, because that's obviously what we want to try and achieve. Because I think Helen made a brilliant point that a lot of people, I think, don't understand that there's two things going on. If you decide not to make your own will, you're actually deciding that your estate is going to be distributed another way. And that can often lead to incredible stress, incredible heartache, and quite often family breakdowns and arguments because your wishes weren't documented and they weren't made clear. So at a horrible time, you've got the power to do something really, really good and make a bad time not worse. I'm not saying that when you lose someone it gets any better, but if someone's planned and there's no ambiguity, there's no confusion about what you want to happen, that's a really valuable thing to do. I don't think you can put a price on it. Obviously, we have put a price on it, but you can start a will for less than 50p a day. So it's...
When you put it like that.
Yeah, it really is a selfless thing, but the consequences of not doing it can be really, really bad.
They can,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, you know, I've had that experience, which I'll tell the story later on about it, because, you know, I've both parents, you know, I suppose that it was that thing, I'll do it tomorrow. And when they don't, and you have to deal with all of that, it, like Ian said, it does, you know, at an already very emotional time as well, when you're not thinking straight, you know, because things, you know, you're trying to guess what somebody wanted.
I think
or...
people might be worried it's a complicated thing to do
Exactly,
or
that's
a
it.
stressful thing to do, and I assure you it's not. It's actually really, really straightforward, and we make it that way because, again, that's what we do every day. So we try and make it as simple and easy as possible for our clients to get what they need. And it's always interesting to me that I think people we pay for insurances to protect our house.
Yes.
We pay for insurances to protect our car.
Yeah.
We pay for insurances to protect our boiler.
Yeah.
But we don't get around to paying a tiny fraction of that to protect our families and the assets that we've got. And I don't quite understand that. And I think a lot of it is a lack of understanding of how powerful that document is and really how selfless an act it is to just make a will. So if you're thinking about it, please just do it.
And also, we talked about a lasting power of attorney, and I've mentioned it, and there's sort of fantastic offers tonight. So how does a lasting power of attorney fit into our estate planning needs?
Well, I think everyone, even if they've not got around to making a will, understand that at some point a will is going to be used. We all understand that. Where a lasting power of attorney comes in is if something horrible happens to you before you pass away, so you lose capacity, and you can lose mental capacity through illness, through an accident. Alzheimer's and dementia is very prevalent in the news at the moment. We're all living longer. I think the statistics by the Alzheimer's Society now say that 1 in 10 people over the age of 65 will suffer with dementia. And actually, I think dementia's overtaken things like heart attacks for the highest death rate now. So it's really got quite serious. And what a lasting power of attorney allows you to do is, whilst you've got the ability today, you can appoint someone to look after you and make decisions about your welfare and make decisions about your finances. And so it's, again, another really selfless thing to do. The lasting power of attorney, you would hope that your family or your loved one or whoever you want to act in that capacity, you'd hope that you never needed to use that document. We know a will is going to be used. Me personally, I plan for the worst and hope for the best. My wife and I have got lasting power of attorney. We just hope that they never needed to be used. But if life throws us a curveball, they're there and they're ready to go.
Absolutely.
And that, again, is a really selfless thing to do.
And I think a lot of people think that, you know, it's time-consuming or it's expensive and you put it off. As Ian said, you think there's other things you can spend your money on. But when you see the offers here tonight, like the lovely gentleman that was with Ian the other day, and he said, I just did it. I saw the show and I just did it. So let's take a look at those offers for you on the show tonight. So you have got the family and estate will. Now, the recommended retail price, £139, £59. And you can break that up into 4 flexible payments if you want to, so that if you just want to spread the cost over 4 months, you can do that. £14.75. And I worked out that the 2 cups of coffee that I have today from our place here would actually cover that. That would cover it. So £14.75 cup of coffee a day. Save £80 on that. Now, P&A lasting power of attorney, £325 becomes £179 for Ideal World viewers, £44.75, and saving £146. That £44.75. Part of those 4 payments if you want to break up the cost. And will and P&A lasting power of attorney, £464, £199, and you can also break up the cost there of £49.75, saving £265. Now, you can call 0333 600 2600. And of course, you can text Wills if you want to. I know they're going to be very busy there this evening, and you can also text Wills and someone will call you back. It's Will to 66777. So that's Will to 66777. Now, our lovely Ian talked about the gentleman he saw the other day. Well, we have lots of very, very happy customers, and they've written in, and thank you so much for letting us know your experience with the planning crowd. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Talbot from Birmingham said after seeing the Ida World show about Wills, we decided to contact the planning crowd and get our affairs in order. Our consultant was enthusiastic about helping us, and she was very knowledgeable. We felt at ease throughout the whole process and would happily recommend the planning crowd. Lovely to hear from everybody who's writing in, and we've so many people now sending in their testimonials. It's just really lovely to hear. Helen, can you briefly explain again what a lasting power of attorney is?
Yeah, the lasting power of attorney, or LPA, is the document itself where you appoint an attorney to act on your behalf if you find yourself in circumstances where you can't deal with your affairs yourself. Now, there's actually two types of lasting power of attorney. There's a health and welfare, which allows you to appoint an attorney to make decisions about your care, so like the medical treatment that you receive, where you live, those kind of decisions. The one we're talking about today is the Property and Affairs lasting power of attorney. So this is the one that allows you to appoint someone to act on behalf of you for your finances. So pay your bills for you, claim benefits on your behalf to make sure that you're getting everything you're entitled to, deal with your utilities, contact your bank on your behalf. We all know how difficult it is if you need to speak to a bank or a utility provider and they say, are you the account holder? And if the answer to that is no, or you can't answer their stream of security questions, you're in real trouble. You can't deal with anything. You can't deal with that account. So this document is what gives somebody the authority to do that on your behalf. So it's a really powerful document.
It is indeed, and Ian, I'm going to take that question further with you. So why is it so important to have an LPA in place? And what happens if something goes wrong and you haven't drafted one?
Well, as I said, my wife Jeannie and I, we've drafted lasting powers of attorney. We've chosen each other as attorneys, and we've also chosen other people that we love and trust who we know they will do right by us. And those documents are ready to be registered with the Office of Public Guardian if either of us lose capacity. If we didn't have those documents in place, so that's planning for the worst, I'm hoping we never need to use them, as I said, but if we didn't have those documents in place and something happened to either of us or both of us, then someone has to apply to become what's called a deputy, and they have to apply through the courts. And the second that the courts are involved, you're straight away talking about additional costs, and worse possibly than even the costs is the time that it takes. Because again, we're talking about something horrible's happened here, where you're in a position where you can't make decisions for yourself. And you want to be able to address that sooner rather than later, because that's where all the problems occur. We all take for granted waking up in the morning and just going about our daily routines. But if suddenly one day you couldn't do that, it's amazing how many people and how many jobs you sort of do and how many people you speak with. If you think about the last time you moved house, how many institutions you had to contact.
Yeah.
You know, so it's all those sorts of people that you need to empower someone in your place. So you literally donate your powers to someone. So without that document, without a lasting power of attorney, somebody has to make the decision to step up on your behalf. So someone's got to be willing to do it, and then they have to apply through the Court of Protection for something called a deputyship order, and it literally runs into thousands of pounds, but worse still, takes months, when a lasting power of attorney can pretty much be registered immediately and be active in a matter of a few weeks. So it's a huge, huge difference. That's why Jeannie and myself have got those. Again, I stress, in the hope we never need them. Yeah. But if life does throw us a curveball, they're there and our family's taken care of.
So true. I'm sure this is resonating with so many people. So what do our viewers need to do to take advantage of these offers?
They just need to make the decision to do something positive. Give us a call. Or we know that people like to watch the show. Obviously, we talk about these documents all the way through the show, and people like to get as much information as possible. So they can always send us a text. We'll call them back. We'll make sure that they don't miss out. So people can do that as well. But you don't have to know everything right now. That's the important thing. Just make the decision to do something. Contact us and we'll take it all from there. We'll hold your hand all the way through it.
Yeah. All the details coming up for you right now. So all you have to do is text the word WILL to 66777 or call on the number at the bottom of the screen, 0333 600 2600. Now, Mrs. Howe wrote in. She watched the show and took advantage of the fantastic offers. And she said, as she said there, I watched The Planning Crowd and Idea World and thought that the will and lasting power of attorney were both explained well. As it all sounded straightforward, I decided to make the call there and then and took advantage of the offers. I found the whole process very easy, and Sarah was very helpful during my telephone conversation. After speaking with my chosen attorney, I did have some further questions, and these were all answered promptly and completely. I would recommend anyone considering putting their affairs in order to speak with the Planning Crowd. What a lovely testimonial. It's so important to plan ahead, Ian, isn't it?
It is. I keep using this phrase, a selfless act, because, of course, if you're unfortunate enough to lose mental capacity, or sadly you pass away, obviously you've no longer got control over anything, clearly. Yeah. So the reason it's a selfless act is you can only do something today. You know, and putting things off until tomorrow is we all procrastinate, we all put things off. And the problem with this is it can be, and it might sound strong, but it can be catastrophic for those that you love. You know, and we live today in a makeup where families are fragmented and dynamic now. You know, it's not unusual to see couples that are on the second relationship and maybe got children from previous relationships. And unfortunately, unless you plan for that, and we can help you do that, and actually it's a lot more simple, it's simpler than you perhaps think,
yes.
But that's why you need to speak to us and we can help you plan for what you want to achieve, because I promise you if you don't, it can get very messy very quickly. And as far as lasting power of attorney is concerned, Helen herself is a court protection specialist, and yes. She probably won't mind me telling you that she pulls her hair out regularly dealing with the courts. And I know what we'd rather deal with. It's sad if anyone loses capacity, but having to deal with the registration of lasting power of attorney or having to deal with an application for the court of protection, anyone would go the lasting power of attorney route for cost and for time.
Let's just take a look. I'm going to show you something on screen, which I think it's just kind of, you know, really shows you what your chosen attorney can do. Open and close and operate any account containing money. They can buy and sell and lease property. So these are things we don't think of, but they will need to be done. Claim pensions, benefits, allowances, financial contributions, repayments and rebates, pay household bills, manage investments and deal with HMRC. Essentially, you choose someone you trust to manage your affairs, and in the eyes of the institutions and companies that they deal with, they become you. Helen, why should our viewers speak to the Planning Crowd about LPAs and producing LPAs?
Well, we've been producing lasting powers of attorney for our clients since they were first introduced in 2007. So we've got experience. I mean, these are really important documents. As Ian said, you can only produce them while you've got capacity to do so. So you need to do it now. You can't put it off, because otherwise it will be too late if something happens. And that's the really important thing. And that's why you need to get it right, because you need to make sure that that document can be used. It's all right producing one and then popping it away and hoping you never need it, but you need to know that that document's correct, so that if it's needed, that it will be accepted by the Office of the Public Guardian and that your attorney will be able to use it. So what we do is we not only give you advice on what to include in that document, because that's really important, we also give you advice on how to sign it and make sure that it's dated correctly, because there are so many powers of attorney rejected by the Office of the Public Guardian. 15%. They did a report last year. 15% of LPAs are rejected by the OPG that are drafted by solicitors. So, you know, it's such a key thing. And one of the key things where mistakes can happen is that they're not signed and dated in the correct order. So something as simple as that can mean that that document's worthless at the time that it's really needed. And that's a stressful time. You know, you want to know that these documents are ready to go. So we will advise you on that, and then what we do to make sure that that document is going to be able to be used is that we'll check it for you. We offer a completely free checking service. So once it's all signed, you can send it back to us. We can check through it, make sure it's all been done correctly. And then you've got total peace of mind that if it is ever needed, that your attorney will be able to use it.
Ian, I'm going to come to you as well. In your opinion, you know, why do you think everyone should have an LPA?
Just to avoid that heartache. As Helen mentioned there, you know, the worst phone calls we get in the office are from our clients where a family member has lost capacity and they say, you did our lasting power of attorney, my mum or my dad has just been diagnosed with dementia, can you help? And 9 times out of 10, you can't, because the diagnosis has been made, they're deemed to have lost mental capacity, and you can only make the lasting power of attorney when you're deemed capable of doing so. So we call it, it's horrible, but we call it the too late phone call. So again, it's one of these things, you'd rather have it and not need it than not have it, because the alternative is just awful from a cost point of view and from a time point of view, and it just adds to an already stressful time. So again, just all you really need to know today is that you want to do something and make that decision to do it. Don't worry if you're not even sure who you would want as your attorneys at this point, but just take that first step in planning. And again, as Helen said, the reason you would use us is we're a professional company. We've got years of experience of doing this. We're insured as well, so our work is checked and double checked. And if we make a mistake, and touch wood we don't, then the clients have got some recourse. And because we know what we're doing, we do make sure that we get it right. So it's an incredibly important document. So do it with a proper company, with a professional company, and get it right first time.
And Helen, why do you think our viewers should take advantage of these offers today?
I don't think you can put a price on the peace of mind that it gives you. I mean, yes, they're incredible offers, and, you know, we'll see as we go through the show the costly mistake of not having planning in place. But the peace of mind that it gives you, we've talked about people who put it off, you know, and then it's in the back of their heads and they think about it and they have constant reminders. And then when they've actually done it, you know, they can sit back, they have that peace of mind. When they talk to their friends about it, they can, you know, just relax and know that they've got all their planning in place. And I think that's, you know, you can't put a price on that. It's really important.
You know, I didn't realise that having an LPA can help in all sorts of circumstances.
Yeah, it's... We are obviously talking about life throwing you a curveball and horrible things happening, but you know, sometimes people work out of the country for long periods of time, or even go on extended holidays for periods of time, and even lasting powers of attorney can be used to appoint someone back home to carry out your affairs and things like that. They're an incredibly powerful document. I keep using this phrase, I plan for the worst and hope for the best, and that's the reason I've got it. And because, I'll be honest with you, because we see it every day. It's not something that happens every now and then. Sadly, we see it every day. You know, we've got over 100,000 clients and their families extend beyond that. So we get phone calls every day dealing with the consequences of planning and not planning. And Helen used the phrase perfectly about which side of the coin do you want to be on. And you always want to be on the side of someone that's planned, but planned properly, because you need those documents to work.
So, Helen, what happens if you find yourself in a position where a family member, they lose capacity and they don't have a lasting power of attorney in place?
You basically come up against a brick wall, because if you need to make decisions on their behalf, nobody will speak to you without some kind of legal authority. It's too late to do the power of attorney at that point, because they've already lost capacity. And then the only route that you've got open to you is to apply to the Court of Protection to become a deputy. Now that, as Ian said, is a very costly and lengthy process. The application cost itself is £400. If the court then decide that they want a hearing, so where you have to stand up and explain to the court why you should be that person's deputy, then that's another £500 for the hearing fee. They'll require medical evidence, so then you've got to get a report carried out by a doctor, which may incur a further fee. You've also then got to give a full financial breakdown, so it's a very personal, you know, at a time when you're struggling, you've then got to disclose all this information to the court so that they can then decide whether you're the right person to be able to manage those affairs, which of course is what the courts are designed to do.
Yes,
but when it's your parent and you're trying to deal with it, it's a really heartbreaking time. So the costs are huge, and by the time you've got the application through to the court, you're then looking at, you know, it could be another 6 or 9 months before you actually get that order. So if you're needing to make decisions about someone and help them because of their circumstances, you can't do that until you've got that authority.
Do you know, and I will say, I did, you know, say that I've had the experience of both sides of the scale, where, you know, a member of my family actually had, as we talked about, dementia at a very young age as well. And the thing is, they probably never thought about that. And, you know, when they were diagnosed, I said, oh, I better put my affairs in order. Well, actually, you can't now. And that's the scary thing about it, when Ian talked about that. You know, my mother passed away. She didn't she didn't make a will because it was one of those things that she thought would be difficult. She wouldn't get around to it. It's the same, you know, a lot of us think like that. But for me, as someone who was, and my family left behind, and how do you think, would they have liked this? Do you think she would have liked that? Who would you think she would have liked to have this? And as Ian and Helen, you know, say, they deal with it every day. And for the likes of me and you, that hopefully you don't have to, you know, deal with it maybe once or twice in your life, but deal with it we will have to at some stage. And you know, when this happened to my father, and my mother had to go to the Court of Protection, just like Ian and Helen are talking about, the cost, the time, the effort, the dissection of your life at a time when already things are changing in your life, what I would say to you is to be able to pick up the phone. And I will say, if my parents knew something like this today, if they were watching today, and I thought, is it really that easy? Is it really? And I can pick, they would have done it. If they knew what happened afterwards, if they had hindsight, and hindsight's wonderful, isn't it? We don't have it. They would have done that. So I'd say to you, it's one of the most important things that you will do. Let's take a look at the fees that may happen. It may happen, that's the thing. So the application fee, £400. Then an assessment fee, £100. A hearing fee is £500. Supervision fee, £320. That's a total of £1,320. Now, medical evidence is often required, so now you have to go off and do that as well. Then you have to make an appointment with a doctor and everything, and you know, that takes ages. So first applications can be additional cost in the region of £500. And these figures exclude any professional fees that may be incurred. You know, that's a lot in anyone's book, and that's not including the hassle and the hard work that you have to put behind it as well. Ian, in order to take advantage of these offers, our viewers do not now have to, and avoid these fees, our viewers don't have to go up and, I always say, open the shoebox and the bottom drawer and go through the paper. What do they need to have today?
Take that all-important first step. Do the positive thing and say, actually, yeah, I'm going to do it now. I'm going to take advantage of these offers, and I'm actually going to put that in place. I'm going to do this for myself and for my family. That's all they need to do. Don't worry if you don't know the answers to any questions or you're worried about doing it, because that's what the client care team are there for. But as with anything, you've got to take that first step. Yeah. So anyone that's thinking about doing it, don't put it off. Take that first step, because the benefits to your family, and you'll feel it yourself after you've completed the process, are huge. Absolutely huge. I mean, when you talked about the court protection fees there, they're hard fact, they're ridiculous, and we see those charges again every day, because applications are going in every day. And the supervision fee that you mentioned of £320, that's an annual fee. But I think we forget to talk about the fact that this is just like the upfront hardship. If you're lucky enough to become a deputy, you then still have to deal with the courts for all the decisions, so it's an ongoing thing. Whereas if I named you and Helen as my attorneys, and I did that today while I've got the capacity to do it, my lasting power of attorney document says I want you two to look after my affairs. That's it. You don't answer to the courts because I made that decision whilst I could do it today. And I made it clear that I wanted you to. I mean, Jenny, it probably wouldn't be you in all seriousness.
Thanks very much, Ian, yeah. I wouldn't either.
But again, on a serious note, it is just one of these things that if you had a crystal ball and you knew that something was going to happen to you, you wouldn't hesitate. So plan for the worst just in case it does. Absolutely. And hope you never need to use it. Yeah. That would be my advice.
And the offers today as well, lots of our lovely viewers saying that they took advantage of the offers here. And, you know, and I did say that, you know, the members of my family, if they'd have seen these prices, I always thought, oh, it would be so expensive and you'd have to go to a solicitor. But look at this. And the planning crowd do everything. The family and estate will is £59. £59, £14.75. You can spread the cost, and remember, it's just over 4 months, and that's it. You're done, and you have everything. Almost like that weight off your shoulders. £80 saving. A P&A lasting power of attorney is now £179 to our viewers tonight, £44.75 if you want to spread the cost, and that's a saving of £146. There's a huge saving on the will and the P&A lasting power of attorney. That's a saving of £265 at £199 and £49.75. Now, you can chat to the client care team in Lincoln, and they are just so, they're as lovely as Ian and Helen. Honestly, they're all lovely. So do have a chat. You don't need anything at all. might want to make a cup of tea for yourself, but that's it. All you have to do is request a call back. And of course, all you do is text Will to 6677 and let the planning crowd do the rest. Now let's have a look at what Mrs. O'Hare said about the planning crowd. I watched the show about wills and lasting power of attorney on the Ida World shopping channel. I'd put off making a will as I expected it to be hard work and quite difficult. But after watching the show, I decided now was the time. I was pleasantly surprised as the consultation with the planning crowd was actually very simple, easy and straightforward. I'd recommend anyone thinking about a will to put it off no longer and make a call to the planning crowd. I'm glad I did it. See, that's what I love at the end there. I'm glad I did that. That's what we want, we want you to say. You're glad you did it. After seeing the offers through Ida World, we spoke to the planning crowd and we were very pleased about how helpful, upbeat and patient they were in helping us achieve our goals. We cannot thank them enough and wouldn't hesitate to recommend them to anyone wanting to address their estate planning needs. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Reeds. Remember, of course, do take advantage of those offers. All you have to do is text Will to the number you've seen on your screen there, 66777. But I always know it's always very busy there, and I'm glad the show resonates with all of you at home. Helen, I'm going to come to you because we were talking about, finding yourself if you in a position where you lose capacity and you don't have an LPA in place. But also, can you explain why it's important to make your own will?
Yeah, of course. I don't think people understand the different things that you can include in a will. So the first thing you have to do is think about who would you want to deal with your estate if you're no longer around. And you can appoint somebody who you know and trust to make sure that your assets end up in the right hands. So that's really key. Instead of someone stepping forward who you perhaps wouldn't want to be dealing with your estate. You obviously get to choose who your beneficiaries are, but what's equally important and what we're seeing a lot more of is where people are very clear about people they don't want to inherit. So you can specifically exclude some